What is your traction in Asia at the moment, Middle East and South America?
Okay, well, South America is just part of a global strategy. Murray & Roberts has built what we term as the world's leading underground mining contractor. So we've taken a technology which has been developed in South Africa, which is deep level mining. And we've been able to export that capability out into the rest of the world. So if you look at a map of our involvement in the underground mining space around the world, we are operating in every single corner of the world, from a place which is about 700 or 800 kilometers north of the Arctic Circle in Canada, down to Chile. We're working in Irian Jaya in Indonesia, Hong Kong, and we've got a project in Mongolia, as well as projects in Africa, Australia, Canada, and the United States. So it's a very global business. And the philosophy there is that you globalize where you can create absolute focus, and you localize where you've got to have a more broad and general strategy like we have in South Africa.
In a global business, do you need to be, as the CEO, visible on the ground, so to speak?
Not necessarily. I mean, we've got a leadership team in our cementation group, as it's called, which is quite clearly expert in the mining sector. We coordinate it out of London because that's an international office, very difficult to coordinate it out of South Africa, although the largest part of our business is in South Africa. So I represent Murray & Roberts. I don't represent the underlying elements of our business. And they are very proud to be part of Murray & Roberts and reflect Murray & Roberts on all their branding, etc. So when they engage with their client base, which are the global resource companies, they engage them in the context that they are part of the Murray & Roberts group. So I do meet many of the global leaders of these resources groups, and they see me as Murray & Roberts, not as cementation, but they understand cementation is part of Murray & Roberts. So as a consequence, our leadership are really free and able to represent those parts of the business that they are dedicated to delivering value out of.
When I spoke to you in February 2010, post your interim results, it was a cautious tone. Yes. that you were adopting. And one of the problems that you were experiencing was revenue recognition with some of the public sector contracts in South Africa. Now let's talk about the public sector in South Africa and how you anticipate this is going to unfold, because it's not only the Gautrain specifically, but also Medupi and the power projects. Yes. that need to be examined on this front.
Okay, well, I mean, mainly over the years, recent years, Murray & Roberts' primary source of revenue has been in the private sector. The resource companies, the developers, oil and gas sector, etc. There's been a clear shift in the marketplace, particularly in South Africa, where lots of the work now comes out of the public sector. The dynamics are very, very different between the two. The projects are not much different, but the dynamics between the two are the same. So a client in the private sector is constantly aware of the economic issues associated with the project. You know, what's the capital cost? What are the impact going to be on long-term life cycle costs, etc. This is not the way that the public service looks at its projects. And in South Africa, we have the introduction of the Public Finance Management Act a number of years ago, which in many respects has constrained the way in which executives in the public sector are able to behave. So the decision-making process is very, very different. We can deal with economic circumstances in the private sector. The same economic circumstances apply in the public sector, but the process through which they have to be dealt with is fundamentally different. And people need to understand, as they move between public and private, what differences they have to engage. There's probably more rigor around process in the public sector and more rigor around the economic consequences of the project in the private sector.